Hi, this is Paul Glenchur. I am the telecom and media analyst with Hedgeye Potomac Research in Washington, D.C. I'm going to chat a little bit, just a few minutes, about a deal that has been in the news quite a bit lately, and it's AT&T's effort to acquire Time Warner, the major programmer that controls home box office, HBO, and the Turner networks like TNT and CNN and TBS. AT&T proposed to acquire Time Warner back in October of last year. Now, when they made that announcement, noting his hostility towards CNN, Donald Trump, the candidate, said that he would not allow this deal to be approved. Nonetheless, after Donald Trump became President Trump, the deal was under review at the Justice Department and looked like it was actually, most people thought, on the way toward ultimate approval at the Justice Department. The FCC is not reviewing the deal for various reasons. But right after the new Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust, Makan Delrahim, was confirmed in September, he came aboard and he actually tried to negotiate some remedies that would force the potential divestiture of either DirecTV, which AT&T now controls, or the Turner networks. AT&T was not willing to do that. They believe their deal passes muster under the antitrust laws and have hinted very strongly that this is largely a political enforcement action driven by Donald Trump's hostility towards CNN. So the case has gone through the discovery phase. There's been no settlement of it, and it is moving forward. The trial is scheduled for March 19th unless there is some settlement in a consent decree. So why is AT&T doing this deal? It has been a distributor, a broadband and video and telecommunications distributor for decades, obviously. But now the thinking is that they can diversify into actual programming and content. They can create innovative content offerings for subscribers, get into digital advertising, and diversify the revenue streams of the company. They want to go forward with this deal. It has received some concerns from lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and of course the antitrust authorities are giving it some resistance. But they believe that under the antitrust laws, because it's a vertical merger, that is, it doesn't eliminate a competitor. It combines different parts of the program supply and distribution chain, that this deal should be approved. The Justice Department disagrees and believes that what will happen here is that AT&T, once it acquires Time Warner content, will use that content through DirecTV or through AT&T's other distribution platforms to benefit their own services and raise costs on rivals, perhaps a dish network or a cable operator or someone who needs content from Time Warner in order to compete with the likes of DirecTV. So the Justice Department says that this could lead to increased programming costs for these rivals that they will pass on to their consumers, their customers, and raise prices overall. Now, there's a bunch of new content coming out, whether it's from Netflix, whether it's from Amazon, even Facebook and other video sources online have been changing and disrupting the environment for media services. AT&T says they're just trying to keep up, trying to, as Randall Stephenson, the CEO of AT&T, says, we're chasing taillights. So what they believe they'll be able to do is convince the court that in this disrupted media environment, all AT&T is trying to do is keep up with the new Joneses, the new media powerhouses that are emerging in the age of media over the internet. So one of the, of course, big questions that has arisen in this case is whether or not this is a political prosecution. In other words, is it a case that's only being brought against AT&T because of Donald Trump's hostility towards CNN? In other words, it's not really a competition problem that the Antitrust Division is trying to address, but it's really a way of trying to go after this deal out of the president's concerns about how CNN has covered him in the media. Now, this not only means that it may not be a competition-related issue, but that it could be a political use of the enforcement powers of justice, that it even raises First Amendment issues if it's being driven by the editorial content of CNN that the president dislikes. This has been totally denied by the antitrust officials who are bringing this case. And it was even litigated somewhat last week in court when AT&T sought some documents about potential White House communications with the relevant Justice Department officials about this matter. The court said Judge Richard Leon was not going to allow more discovery, more inquiries into those kinds of documents, and accordingly, he's not allowing this part of the case to really go forward in any significant way. But you can't unring the bell. And just by litigating this issue about political bias to this degree may have planted some seed out there in the judge's mind about, as a background matter, this is really something that may be more political than a matter of true competition policy. And again, the trial is set for March 19th. As we look at the evidence that we think will be coming into court, it could be a tough case for the Justice Department to win. In the antitrust law, when a case is brought against companies to block a merger, the burden of proof is on the government. Now, it's hard to litigate against the government. That's why often when the DOJ, Justice Department, sues, companies often fold their tents and just walk away from the deal. AT&T is not doing that here. And in fact, there were indications that if this needs to go further, even than the trial court, and go up on appeal, they might be willing to do that. They believe very strongly that their case is one that can win, and that their deal should be deemed acceptable under the antitrust laws. We'll know for sure when the trial goes to fruition, if indeed it does, and it's not settled. There is some hope, I think, by AT&T that this case could still settle. Comcast bought NBC several years ago. It's a similar deal where a distributor, in this case a cable operator, bought content, NBC and NBC's cable channels, Universal Studios as well, and the movie library. So the thinking is this deal's a lot like that one. If that one was okay with some regulatory conditions, theirs should be as well. That's what AT&T believes. So they're hoping that maybe a settlement along those lines is still possible, but the head of the Justice Department's Antitrust Division, Makan Delrahim, thinks no. He doesn't believe in regulatory remedies. He wants a structural remedy, the divestiture of Turner Networks or DirecTV, which to AT&T is a showstopper. There's just no point in going forward with the deal at that point. So the trial will begin March 19th. It should run 3, maybe 4 weeks. And then the judge, maybe sometime in the late May timeframe, can offer up a decision whether this deal is acceptable and therefore legal under the antitrust laws. Now, we think the edge goes to AT&T here just based on the fact that so much content is coming into the market and actually diluting the impact of a Time Warner acquisition. Netflix, Amazon, Google, others are providing content, and the barriers to entry for new content to enter the market are actually pretty low. We think the court will probe all of this and lean toward AT&T prevailing in this case. But again, it's tough to litigate against the government, so we'll have to see what happens. There are some ripple effects possible here. If AT&T can prevail, then that suggests that cable operators or perhaps Verizon or other telecom players could go out and also play the content game and try to acquire programmers. There are other independent programmers, movie studios and such out there that might be attractive acquisition targets. But first, there has to be resolution of this current case to clarify who can buy such content. Can these sort of vertical deals go forward? It's interesting because there are rumors out there that before Disney completed its agreement to acquire Fox Entertainment assets, that Comcast had actually offered a higher bid. Now, if that's true, there's some thinking that should AT&T prevail, either through settlement or winning the case, that Comcast could go back to Fox and offer a higher amount for those assets than Disney and maybe trigger a bidding war or at least upset Disney's plans to acquire those critical Fox Entertainment assets. So there could be ripple effects on other deals depending on what happens in this case, and how people want to think about those potential deals could change up or down depending on the progress of the trial when things get underway in about a month. So that's the thinking here. We'll be watching this case very closely. It is a huge antitrust trial. It breaks some new ground in terms of challenging vertical integration, something that the Justice Department in general has not done in court for quite some time. The theories are not novel as an antitrust matter, but generally these kinds of deals are seen to a great extent as being innovative and pro-consumer, and therefore the antitrust authorities have tended to approve them with some regulatory conditions. We'll see if in the end that's what prevails here as well. So that's it for me. We'll probably be back in touch with you to update you on what happens as the trial gets underway. Thanks.